Greetings and welcome to the Awakening Alchemy podcast. My name is Anna Merkaba. In today's episode, we'll explore the spiritual roots of autoimmune disease and the hidden grief behind it. If you've been struggling with chronic symptoms that no one can explain, this message may help you understand what your body's been trying to say. Let's begin. When Monique first reached out to me, she had already tried everything. Supplements, elimination diets, endless testing, and the haunting refrain of normal results. But her body was not normal. She lived in a constant state of inflammation, fatigue, and unexplained flare-ups that left her feeling like a stranger inside her own skin. The diagnosis, an autoimmune condition. And yet, beneath the surface of this label, there was something far older, far deeper, something her body had been trying to say for years. During our session, I tuned into her field. Alongside the expected energetic implants and a karmic containment unit lodged around her solar plexus, something else emerged. It was quiet, buried, but unmistakable. Grief. Not grief from a recent loss, but ancestral grief, old and unspoken, inherited like a forgotten story, passed down through the womb. Her body wasn't attacking itself. It was guarding her from energies that she had never learned to say no to. We often forget that the immune system is not just a physical mechanism. It is the spiritual intelligence of discernment. It is how we decide, consciously and unconsciously, what we allow into our world and what we lovingly decline. Immunity is the soul's way of evolving in harmony, learning to be among beasts without becoming one, choosing what nourishes growth and what endangers it. But in Monique's case, she had spent her life trying to be kind, agreeable, always saying yes, even when every part of her body wanted to say no. Somewhere along the way, she had confused unconditional love with unconditional access. She thought that to accept others meant to allow them in, even when they disturbed her peace. But acceptance does not require proximity. Love does not mean self-abandonment. Her immune system had become the last line of defense, guarding her from energies her conscious mind didn't feel permitted to reject. Monique, like many emphatic souls, had long forgotten the sacredness of duality. She didn't trust her own preferences. She didn't want to dislike anyone. She didn't want to admit that some people were not meant for her evolution. But our incarnation on Earth is not about bypassing contrast. It's about learning to hold it, to understand that not liking someone doesn't make us unloving. It makes us honest. And that honesty is the soil where true immunity blooms. Unprocessed grief had built up in her system, not just her own, but the grief of ancestors who had also chosen peace at the cost of their boundaries. And her body, in its wisdom, said no more. Autoimmunity is often misunderstood as the body turning against itself, but in truth, it is the body defending a boundary that the mind refused to acknowledge. It is a spiritual alarm, a sacred no. We work gently to clear the unresolved grief, to dissolve the imprints, and to reset the energetic blueprint that had convinced her she had to suffer to be loved. But this wasn't just about energy. I was guided to support her with physical tools as well. Gentle homeopathic remedies to strengthen her emotional resilience, flower essences to help her release past grief, such as Star of Bethlehem and walnut, and cellular mineral support, especially magnesium and zinc, to fortify her body's communication systems. We also talked about how her immune system had become hypervigilant, not because it was broken, but because it was brilliant. Her job now was not to suppress it, to help it feel safe again. A few weeks after a session, Monique wrote to me. She said she no longer felt like her body was her enemy. She felt like she finally understood why she was so tired. She's been grieving her whole life for something she couldn't name, and now that weight has started to lift. She had begun to say no, not in anger, but in truth. She no longer hugged everyone. She no longer explained her boundaries. She no longer said yes just to be liked. And in return, her symptoms softened, her inflammation went down, her spirit stood taller. What I would love for you to take away from today's episode is this. You are not meant to be everything for everyone. If you've been living with an autoimmune condition, I invite you to consider, what grief have you buried? What boundary did your body keep trying to draw for you? What part of yourself have you labeled unloving simply because it longed to be free? Your immune system is sacred, and healing begins not with war, but with wisdom. If this speaks to something deep inside of you, know this, you are not alone. I would be honored to walk with you as you remember how to trust your body again. Thank you for listening. Once again, my name is Anna Merkaba, and you can find me at annamerkabahealing.com.